the 1973 football team. The Fairfield Prep 1973 football team was the sixth undefeated and untied team in school history and the first 11-0 squad coached by the late Fairfield Prep Athletic Hall of Famer Earl Avery. The team outscored their opponents 341-70. Led by co-captain and 2017 Athletic Hall of Fame inductee Paul Hallis, fellow co-captain Mike Dolan, and running back Pat Spunky DiTullio, the team featured a strong defense anchored by middle linebacker Al DeJulio, tackle Ray Cal, and end Rich Condo. The defense posted 3 shutouts and did not allow more than 8 points in a game until the season finale against Stanford. Prep captured the MDF title with a victory over Harding and was ultimately voted the #1 team in the CIAC's Class L division. Hallis, Cal, DeJulio, and guard Bob Albert were all MBF honorees, while Hallis, as a safety, and Cal were named All-Staters into the All-Daily News team.
So the football season prep, that was the fall of '73, and we had a giant of a coach named Earl Avery. And Earl Avery said to start the season, you know, we may be small in size, but we'll come to play. And that was a foreboding of what teams were about to see in the future.
We were not that big or impressive, but we showed up. We did.
Well, we're still not tall.
No, that's
We're a little
Yeah,
bigger.
a little bigger
We're less impressive. But we had a bunch of heart, and we had the 2 best coaches in the state. Earl got recognized early and often, Coach of the Year, Football Coaches Association of Connecticut, Hall of Fame. This guy between us did the same thing.
The reason we were as successful as we were, 90% of it was coaching, was putting the right people in the right places and calling the right games.
Might be overstating our contributions, but we also had some lessons from the guys that went ahead of us the year before. Great team of leaders, couple of unfortunate games early in that season. I wouldn't say they splintered, but there were some fissures that were forming, and those leaders galvanized that team together. They left us with lessons, some making up to do, and a 7-game winning streak to build on.
Dedication to the team. You know, Tom Shea and Paul Blowy, they led that team. Some of those other guys, they really stopped and they said, hey guys, if we don't pull together, we're going to fall apart.
Well, if I can say that, Earl was a great tactician. We worked very hard as coaches. We had meetings 3 nights a week in preparation. It was a lot of work that went into getting you guys ready. And you were always ready to play. You knew what the team was going to do. You were well prepared, and you executed. And it was wonderful to work with you guys. You were so easy to work with, and you gave us 100% in everything that you did, and especially those arduous practices that we put you through, and all the drills and the running. And you always accepted the challenges we put in front of you. It was just great to coach you guys.
Well, you guys had proven your stuff before that, so we knew we were following the right guys. We had basically, Bob Harris was handling JVs and Dick Morris, who was handling freshmen. So we had 2 coaches on the field. I think the masterstroke was moving Mike Dolan to tight end.
And that was one of the things that came out of one of the meetings, that to move Mike, because the key to our offense was the off-tackle play. And we had to have somebody at that tight end position that could execute that double team. And let's face it, that was our offense.
Mike Dolan and Ray Callen in an end tackle double team. That was fun.
We could move people.
Yeah.
Fun
We
for
could
the
make
guys
a hole.
running behind it.
We could make a hole, yeah.
But then Al DeJulio went and put him at fullback, and he was a monster. And you put some speed in the backfield with Spunky and Smitty.
Dave Smith, yeah.
And then Billy Barron on the other end of the line with Mike O'Hara. And then along with our senior offensive line, we had 3 juniors who were instrumental in backing up that offensive line and were huge for us on defense. Keith Lavin, Jim LaSorenza, and Kevin Golger went on to great things the next years, but were incredibly important to our success. And Billy stretched defenses.
Yep.
We just watch him run the 880, power to speed. It was poetry to watch him. Great to throw to him.
I used to like those play action passes because we would set it up with run off tackle, and then throw a play action pass, and it was always invariably open, always open.
Yeah, it had to be open, given who was throwing it. Al would run right at the defensive end. Defensive end standing there by himself without Julia running at him. Smart ones got out of the way, and they just left the ball in Al's stomach and let it run for 20, 30 yards. Then their coaches yelled at him to start taking the fullback, and we had 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 on the outside, and it was just a lot of fun. But the master stroke was just that, with that belly option, and then you slip Billy Barron behind the defense.
Yeah.
It was kind of all over it. Let's talk a little bit about the defense. You had to find someone to play opposite Ray Cowell at defensive end, and Stanley Cowell. So we had another Cowell in the field. Opposing coaches must have been just flummoxed. And then with you, Mike, and Al DiGiulio, behind Andy Carpy and Bob Albert and Keith Lavin and Jerry Norman, it was magical to watch you guys stop runs, because then they had to throw the ball, and that's when it got fun.
That's when you and
us guys in the back had some fun.
Yeah. Well, but I want to say one thing about coaching and defense. I always found this amusing is how well scouted the teams were, because they would tell the defense, look, if you see these guys line up and long, third and long, and you see them line up this way, they're throwing to the flat. So we'd be back there, okay, it's third and long. Oh, they're throwing to the flat. And the other team, how the hell do they know that? That was coaching. That was you guys knowing what to do and knowing what the situation would be. And that just made us all the better on defense. And that's why we did so well, I thought.
So that led us to the ability to win a lot of games. And there are a couple of games that stand out in my mind. Stratford was huge.
Yep. It was the season.
They were the hardest hitting team I think I saw in 3 years at prep. And they surprised us, and we turned the ball over way more than we should have in that game.
We did.
We gave them their only touchdown, actually the first touchdown that was scored on our defense that year in the 5th game. But then we tightened up on offense a little bit, tightened up our defense a lot. And Tommy Koba saved our bacon with some great punting that day. One play, another innovation, quarterback sweep right, throw back to the tight end, that Dan McCarthy, our beloved manager, still thinks is the biggest play of the year. You ran as fast as you could. I threw it as far as I could.
Whole 10 yards.
With the win.
We made a first down.
It flipped the field. We didn't score then, but we had them deep enough that we forced them to punt for another time.
The guy should have been wearing a cape that day.
I think you blocked a couple that day. But
He did.
We were in film session on Monday. You gave him the name. It's Don Cub. It's 50 years later. It's still here.
That was the season. In my opinion, that was the biggest play of the season.
I won't argue with that one. That game was huge. We kind of coasted. Not that these guys ever let us coast, but into the NBA championship game. So we survived that first half. Coaches call an onside kick. Kick worked. Billy Stanley falls on it.
Surprised everybody.
Whole game changes around. We go right down and score. There's a great picture of Al holding the ball up after the first touchdown. We made the extra points, so we're ahead. We kick off. They fumble. We recover it. Score. Interception. Score. And that then.
2 different games. First half, second half.
Yeah, it was.
And then on to Stanford. You recall, sophomore year, they beat us 52-7.
Yep. They ran up the score.
They ran up the score. We got them back a little bit junior year. And then it was a celebration senior year.
Hey, we went 11-0.
So it was a spectacular season led by these guys. Passed on, an 18-game winning streak to Billy Barron and Al DiGiulio, and contributions of that group were remarkable.
It's an honor to introduce the undefeated 1973 Fairfield Prep football team into the Fairfield Prep Athletic Hall of Fame.
The members of the 1973 undefeated football team: Robert Albert, Ray Call, Stan Call, Tom Koba, Mario Contaldi, Pat Spunky DiTullio, Mike Dolan, Kevin Golger, Paul Hallis, Andy Carpy, Jim LaSorenza, Keith Lavin, Bob Mastroni, Bob Harris, Jerry Norman, Gary Pintek, and Steve Schaefer. Let's hear it for the members of the 1973 undefeated football team.